My dear friends, I've got a movie review for you today on the advice of our other dear friend, Gregory Fox Jr., who we interviewed on this channel, and if you haven't checked that out, I highly recommend you do it. But in answering one of the questions from the interview, he brought up a movie that he wished he had been the one to direct, and that was The Crying Game. Because apparently, as a 13-year-old lad, Greg Fox Jr. saw The Crying Game, and it left quite an impression on him. Now, he and I are relatively close in age, so I remember what things were like when The Crying Game came out back in the day. And so I can only imagine what seeing this movie, which I knew of by reputation but hadn't seen personally, might do to a poor 13-year-old lad's mind. In case you haven't heard of The Crying Game, I guess there's two ways of putting it to you. Greg says it was 30 years ahead of its time, which may be true because nowadays Disney and most other major studios crowbar in gay and trans stuff into every movie they can possibly put it in, whether it has anything to do with the plot or not. Or my take on it, that this is drag show James Bond. Whichever description you choose to go with, this is actually a really good movie. It is clever, and I mean clever in that kind of Celtic cleverness sense, because there's some element in the dark humor of Irish, Scottish, and some English stories where even though some really bad stuff's going on, you can't help but laugh. There's some morose humor to be had, an element of absurdism. And this movie is really good for that. And in structure, the number of plot twists that come along, me and my production assistant, Pamela Lucas, when we were watching this, we had no idea where this movie was going to wind up, but we were interested to see where it was going. So in addition to great writing, you have a great cast. A young Forrest Whitaker, Stephen Ray, Jim Broadbent as a young, thin guy, and his scenes are hysterical. Really, if nothing else, watch the movie for the scenes with Jim Broadbent as the bartender. It is priceless. Those scenes, the cleverness and the chemistry between the actors is fantastic. You absolutely love those. So what is it we actually get here? What's the plot going on? Very light spoilers ahead. So using the framing of drag show James Bond, we have a terrorist organization, the IRA. Check. And by the way, Ireland could use y'all again today, just saying. We got undercover espionage, assassination attempts, terrorism, political goals. Check. We have a main character trying to negotiate all of that. Yeah, he's no James Bond, but he's entertaining to watch. And there's a lot of heart in this character. Each one of these characters are very well realized, by the way. So if you think you can't relate to some of the people types that are in here, the movie does an excellent job of fleshing them out to where you can relate to them. And then you get a love triangle. Wait, no, it's actually a quadrangle. It might actually be a pentangle if you count the dead guy and the thirsty boy. So there's a lot going on in this movie. I would highly recommend it. It is aged very well, still relatable today. But if you are squeamish around some of the more offbeat aspects of human sexuality, you may want to give it a skip, but really there's only about 3 seconds of on-screen time that might make you check your pizza rolls. Do not let any kids watch this. It is way too complicated for them. So I'm still trying to figure out what this did to my boy Greg's head. Now, at the time of this movie's release, this made quite a stir, both because of the quality of the production, but also the subject matter, because it involves a lady. And at the time, the seduction, the illusion would have worked on way more people. But today, since it's everywhere, my eyes are trained to spot the tranny. So I was able to pick up on things very quickly and be like, I know exactly what's coming, besides just me knowing basically what the movie was about. Now, a point that Greg made is that this movie does a unique job at exploring the limits of platonic love. And I'm still thinking about the implications of what his observation meant in context of the film. But I think he's got something there. So if you like action, intensity, interesting things happening in a movie, something different, this is highly worthy of your time.